know, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shooting Show. We certainly want to welcome you to today's program. Tell you what, friends, we live in strange times, don't we? We live in exciting times. We also live in strange times. You know, we've been talking about what the government's been trying to do to us. In fact, a lot of anti-gun people that are manipulating our own government. Now, that's true. If you saw Clinton's speech on Monday night, you can see, one, that he was not sorry about what he'd done with Monica Lewinsky, because as we understand, there's been a whole stream of women outside his marriage that he's been fooling with. And the thing is, friends, that served as a perfect example, if you ask me, a perfect example of the power-mad scenario or the power-mad syndrome that individuals occasionally have, like Bill Clinton. Now, he's not the only one. You know, there have been some others this century when, granted with unlimited power, they showed us what really humans could do to other humans. Adolf Hitler's one. We had another one in Mao Zedong, whereas he had an ideal for the so-called betterment of the entire country, so he killed 60 million of his own people. Joseph Stalin was a total power ruler, total power. So he killed 20 million of his own people. And I wonder how those folks felt down in the Ukraine, where 13 million of them starved to death when the Russian troops came in and took out all the food. They had nothing to fight back with at all. Took out all the food, closed the border with tanks, and 13 million people in the Soviet Union starved. Friends, you know, I saw the same determination of power on Bill Clinton's face when he did not apologize to the country. He talked to the country. And it's like this. He said, yeah, I did it, so what? What you gonna do about it? It's none of your business. Now, that was the attitude that I saw. The only time we actually heard the word regret was when he said he regretted embarrassing Hillary, and boy, I bet he does. So, I tell you what, friends, regardless of what you think about old Clinton, whether he's gonna be punished or not, he has to live with Hillary, at least near proximity. And so that may be, that I don't think it's punishment enough, but it's a good start, let me tell you what. We're seeing all kinds of things coming out of the Clinton White House, and as I talked to the judge on last Sunday's radio program, I said, well, having Clinton tied up means that he may not be able to do as much to us. And the judge said something real good. He said, well, he's got staffs of people that work in shifts that will try to get this socialist agenda over on us. Let me read something to you. This is from the New American Magazine, and we keep talking about the stance the United Nations is taking on guns. Now listen to this. This was in Oslo, Norway, and you think this won't affect us? Well, this fall, friends, it's not far away. Every gun that we buy, we're going to have government permission, whether it's this shotgun or this Ruger 44 Magnum, doesn't matter. Whatever it is that goes bang that resembles a modern firearm, you're going to have permission from the government to buy it. You think these things don't affect us? Well, they do. And a whole bunch of those deer hunters, a whole lot of duck hunters, a whole lot of people that enjoy shooting their gun, trap shooters and all, they're going to go down, they see a new gun they want, and they're going to have to be checked out. And they're going to say, well, golly, nobody told me about this. Well, you know what, friends? We have been telling our audience about this for these 8 years. And honestly, I don't know whether we're going to be able to remain on the air or not. I don't know. We're here tonight. We're here this week. We'll worry about next week, I suppose, but we do the best we can at getting information out there. And one of the companies I talked to in the firearms industry this past week, they saw that we sometimes had machine guns on our program, and the guy said, well, Johnny, I just don't know if that fits our image, that military type stuff. I said, wait a minute, man. I said, do you think there's anything that we can do as shooters that's going to make us politically correct until we go to guns that don't shoot anything at all? I said, it doesn't matter. I said, our audience enjoys seeing machine guns. If you don't believe that military type equipment, such as this Mossberg military type shotgun, if you don't think that's popular, just look at the History Channel. Look at the stuff they have. They have military stuff on all the time because people enjoy seeing it. They're curious about it. What's wrong with us as decent Americans being able to own anything that like this? military type gun. What's wrong with that? It was okay until just a short time ago. It was okay, it was perfectly all right up until just the last few years when the politically correct crowd decided to say that would be a great way to attack gun owners. Let's get them on the military stuff first. Let's try and make bad light of black guns or guns that look military-esque. And hey friends, it's cheaper to make. It's simpler to maintain. There's nothing wrong with that. And I tried to explain to another cowardly person in the firearms industry that said it doesn't matter. We can never do enough except give our guns up to be okay with the politically correct crowd. That's the only thing we can do is give them up. That's the only thing. And a lot of our folks out there in the firearms industry, even some of our conservatives think, well, if we could just not show a particular type gun, or if we smiled and said, well, this gun won't hurt you too much if it hits you. See, that's Looney Tunes, friends. That's insane. There's nothing we can do as gun owners that will affect Bill Clinton's attitude toward us until we give them up, until we have no means of self-defense. That's all they want. That's all they're going to settle for. Do you think you can reason with Bill Clinton? You think he's a reasonable man? Now he's trying to call his sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky. He's saying, well, that didn't meet the pure Oh, come on, give me a break. I mean, and I think a lot of you saw that and feel the same way. It's like, this is disgusting. You know, it's outrageous. You can't reason with these people. That's why I have said so long, the only way they can be dealt with is to be defeated. And I wish that those folks at the NRA-C, the NRA compromisers up there, could get that through some of their thick skulls that they're never going to win by compromising. It never works because this compromise is only good till the next compromise. And that one's only good till the next compromise, until they're all gone. Well, let me read this to you briefly. We have a lot of information, a lot of things to cover on today's program, and we're treating every show as if it could be our last, because it could be. I don't know. Anyway, let me read this to you briefly. Norway recently hosted an International Small Arms Control Congress at which delegations from 21 nations targeted small arms as a global menace. Think this Mossberg shotgun is a global menace? That's what they're calling it. The uncontrolled use of these weapons causes untold human suffering. How about the uncontrolled United Nations causes untold human suffering? How about the thousands of people that the United Nations is responsible for murdering and allowing to be murdered? What about that? And what about the 50,000 times a week that guns are used here in the United States to stop crime, to keep it from occurring, almost never being fired, sometimes yes, 50,000 times a week? What about that? You see, the New World Order people, the one world government people, they can't deal with that. Oh no. That's why one of the better things the NRA has come up with is the Eddie Eagle program, where they go in school and they tell little kids, say, look, if you see a gun in someone's home, don't touch it, go get an adult, get away. Just don't be around it. Might be another little kid there to pick it up and hurt you. So just leave the area. What's wrong with that? The Eddie Eagle program is probably one of the best things they've ever concocted. And you know what? A lot of school districts won't even allow it to be taught because they see having anything at all talking about guns in a non-negative means would be supporting gun ownership. Well, apparently these people have not read the Second Amendment, or apparently the Second Amendment is not important to them, but school districts won't even allow it in. And you know what? Coming from the education departments up in Washington, D.C., oh no, don't put anything about guns, because that might let people think that we were in favor of guns, or at least we weren't against them, whatever. Well, friends, what about those innocent little children? And there aren't that many. We're talking way under bicycles, way behind swimming pools. You know, according to the best reports, under 15 years of age, where some of these gang members, yeah, over 15, they're going to kill each other, but under 15 years of age, only 200 or less accidental shootings or accidental firearms death among children actually happen. Friends, that is behind. That just goes to show that as a mechanical device, the gun is one of the safest things ever invented as a mechanical device. Yet they want to blow these things all out of proportion. You know, there's nothing we can do about people wanting to hurt each other. That's gone on from the very beginning. But you know what we can do? We can give people the means to defend themselves with something they can control. And you know, the criminal doesn't pick on an equal. The criminal only picks on someone that is weaker, like women, like children, like older people who can't defend themselves. That's who are picked on. Those are the real victims of society. Listen at this. Listen at this. It says, the Congress maintained that small arms must be subject to global controls because they, quote, often fall into the hands of terrorists, drug cartels, and renegade soldiers, reported the Chicago Tribune. Well, tell me something, friends. What do you call, it says, again, let's go over that, into the hands of terrorists, drug cartels, and renegade soldiers. Well, what do you call those government agents at Waco, Texas?
That's right.
I'd call them renegades, wouldn't you? Or coming from renegade leadership. What do you call those government agents up there at Ruby Ridge in Idaho that attacked Randy Weaver's home and killed his wife? Wait a minute, what do we call that? What is that? Maybe these guns may fall into the hands of rogue governments. Maybe they'll fall into the hands of rogue and renegade government employees. What about us? What about us out here in mid-America or anywhere else in this still great country that have needs to defend themselves not only from the criminal, but maybe from agents of a rogue or renegade government agency? What about that? And you know what, friends? As long as we can defend ourselves, they're not going to be able to have their police state. That's what this is about. And you know what? That's why it is so hard for us to get sponsors from the firearms industry to help on our project here. That's why it's so hard, because you know what? They're absolutely terrified. They're so afraid that some government agency or some government regulator is going to come down on them. That's why it's so hard for some of these folks that work for some of the so-called pro-gun organizations to stand up and be counted, because they're cowardly or they don't care about what we stand for as gun owners and free Americans. That may be a term that's going to vanish from the dictionary, friends, the term free Americans. We don't know how long that's going to last. I know this, as long as we have access to arms, there will always be some free Americans. That's why we're here today, friends. If you can help the shooting show stay on the air, if you can, you know, we'll keep hoping. If we can stay on long enough, we're going to hit on some kind of deal that will help our program become self-sustaining. Well, we're not there, obviously, and we're on today thanks to your contributions. We appreciate our sponsors so much, but let me tell you what, our contributors out there, the folks that donate money to this project to keep us on the air, are the things that actually get us on every week. If you can help the shooting show stay on the air, please, friends, you know, this is how we've done it, because of all of you out there who care. If you want to see us stay on the air, please send whatever you can. If it's $5, if it's $25, if it's $50 or $100, whatever you can spend. Wish somebody would send 5,000 or 10, because that would get us out of the bind we're in. If you can, if you care about the information that we have going out, please send whatever you can to the shooting show. 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Dubberly, Louisiana. That zip code is 71024. We appreciate everyone being with us today, friends. We have a great show for you. And, you know, if we don't report this news, if we don't, you're not going to see it on TV. So we are trying, friends. We're definitely trying. Thanks to you, we're here today. Well, let's, we've got our Mossberg 590 with a Van Kamp barrel 12-gauge shotgun, but we have experiment we're going to run here at the opening of the program. We have a wall board there, some of that press board, and let's see the effect that this 44 Magnum handgun has on this wall board. Well, friends, didn't put too much of a hole, just punched a little 44 caliber hole, and You know, if we wanted to look in on the other side, we might be better served with this. Now, friends, I tell you what, I keep talking about these shotguns.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Now, friends, a lot of you out there ask sometimes how old Blue is doing, and Heather's got him held down here for a minute. I think he's doing pretty well. You'll notice the little dog there on your left. That's one of Blue's puppies here, and it's remarkable how their markings are so similar. You'll notice a little spot there on Blue's head and on the little dog there. We appreciate everyone that's concerned about old Blue there, and if you'd like to help name the little puppy, no, we're not going to call him Blooper, but if you'd like to submit a name for Blue's puppy there, Blue Jr., whichever, you can by writing to the program, 327 Irvin Rowland Road, Duberly, Louisiana, zip code 71024, and we haven't come up with a good name for him, but he looks like he's going to be a good dog like his daddy. We sure hope so. Friends, we're looking at one of the neatest handguns out there. This is the Ruger Bisley and .45 Colt, and you'll see some of this great Georgia Arms ammunition in the plastic bag there. That's really a great concept, that plastic bag, because you can instantly see how much new ammo you've got left, so you can reorder some quickly if you have to. But anyway, we want to do a brief feature today on the .45 Colt double action, or our DA Colt cartridge that we actually concocted here on the program, and Georgia Arms was nice enough to go ahead and put in production. We'll be looking at the differences in the standard Colt versus the DA Colt in just a few minutes. But what I'll show you here, we have some cartridges. Georgia Arms has the brass available for you hand loaders out there. Folks that want to brew your own load, that's certainly on the left. Next to it we have with the black bullet, which is a moly-coated cowboy load there with our .45 double action Colt, the DA Colt. That's a 255 grain bullet running about between 700 and 800 feet per second out of the 7.5-inch Bisley there. And then we're going to step up a little bit. This is a hand load with a 250 grain Hornady XTP bullet. Now let's regress. That's running about 1,200 feet per second. I got that load out of the Hodgdon manual. It is a safe load in the Ruger Blackhawks and in the Thompson Center Contenders. But let me show you what this bullet right here on top that Hornady XTP does when it impacts our packed sand at 1,200 feet per second. That right there used to be, up until yesterday, was a brand new Hornady 250 grain XTP bullet. A rather dramatic expansion. That's over an inch, and it held together well. And we have one more bullet loaded here, the 300 grain. That's a spear bullet loaded inside our Georgia Arms case. Again, we're taking loads from the published manuals for the Ruger Blackhawk or Thompson Center Contender. Now friends, we're looking at some very similar guns, but in some ways different guns. This is my old Super Blackhawk right here in 44 Magnum, and this is the new Ruger Bisley in 45 Colt. And they're similar in some ways and different in others. Notice that just some subtle differences here. We have a cylinder that's roll marked. It has a little engraving on it versus my old Super Blackhawk, just a plain black cylinder. But you'll also see differences here in the lower hammer spur versus the Super Blackhawk. The sights are the same, the frame is the same, but we have a lower hammer spur. And you'll notice here we have the grip screws. This grip is actually mounted lower on the gun than is the Bisley. Notice the grip, there are no grip screws right here. They're on the inside of the grip frame there. And what this does, it gives you an exaggerated grip away from a lot of guns today, and to me is a great grip angle, whereas your finger is pointing right parallel with that barrel. A lot of people who shoot the more powerful handguns feel like the Bisley grip, the one that comes straight down like this, is the best at dissipating recoil in a heavy caliber handgun. And I'll show you something here. Now looking at my Super Blackhawk, of course, I have a Packmire grip that fills in behind the trigger guard, because these Super Blackhawks have a squared off trigger guard. And that's fine if you like the looks of it, but what happens is if you get your finger behind it like so, this trigger guard will bang your fingers. Okay, the Bisley, and I'm not exactly sure why, but you've got an even higher grip here. And if you grip the gun like so, and we know, we're going to double check, we know this gun's empty. Okay, because I'm going to put my finger on the trigger. Okay, if you grip it like this, and you shoot it with a powerful load, well, look what's going to happen to you. This trigger guard here is going to bang. I mean, it will bang your knuckle, your finger there unmercifully. So in order to benefit from this grip angle, this great engineering feat here, the way that I have developed in talking to people like Hamilton Bowen and some others out there that have a lot of experience shooting the really powerful versions of these single actions, here's what you do. You actually, I hook my little finger actually under the grip like so. Go ahead and put my finger on it. And I hold it with my thumb over and these two fingers here, my little finger under the grip. So see what happens when the gun recoils, it misses my finger. And trust me on this one, that can be very important. Now friends, let's go ahead and load our Bisley 45 here with our Georgia Arms double action Colt cases. And our first bullet there is going to be the cowboy load, and the second one will be the 250 grain Hornady load at about 1,200 feet a second. Then the third one is a 300 grain spear load there. And let's see the variation. One of the things that the 45 Colt does is it allows a huge variety of loadings. What you'll find in the loading manuals is typically very mild. The cowboy loads are very, very mild, although they certainly wouldn't be bad for if someone wanted a big bore but lighter defense load. But Anyway, the cartridge itself has such a fantastic capability. Now, it is not a 44 Magnum. If you want to run 200 grain, 180 grain, 200 grain bullets at 1700 feet per second, get a 44 Magnum. But when you get into, say, the 300 grain bullets, you can run a 300 grain bullet out of a Black Hawk about as fast as you can out of the 44 Magnum Super Black Hawk, simply because you've got a bigger case and your pressures are lower. It will also, you can think of it as sort of a gentler, just as effective, maybe a gentler on the shooter big bore.Maybe it doesn't have quite the range that the 44 Magnum would have, but you can load down very easily. You can run a 250, 260 grain bullet at 1,000 or 1,100 feet per second, have a darn good defensive load out of one of these guns. And if you want to, you can take it on up 1,200 or so feet per second, even 1,200 feet per second with the 300 grain bullet, and you can do it safely in the Rugers. We're not recommending these heavier loads for the Smith & Wessons, for some of the other, and none of the single action Army Colts, none of them, none of the Ubertis, only in the Rugers and the Thompson Center Contenders do we run these heavier loads. The Dan Wesson 45 Colt looks real good. We don't have one for testing, so I can't say. I don't know what strength the Colt Anaconda, I flatly don't know, but we know what the Rugers are, and we know that they will take a generous portion of gunpowder, more so than the standard 45 Colt load, which is very mild. Now then, yes, you can destroy the Rugers too. If you're stupid, if you take the information in the loading manual, say, well, we'll just start here. Yes, you can blow up a Ruger. Yes, you can. You can destroy any known piece of equipment. Doesn't matter. But today, we're going to show you, look at the recoil level on our cowboy load, and notice how I'm gripping it down 2 fingers here, little finger under the grip, away from that trigger guard. It won't matter too much. Get my hearing protectors in. Watch on our cowboy load right here. Watch the recoil. Just almost none. But now then, let's jump up to that 250 grain bullet running about 1,200 feet per second and watch the muzzle of the gun. Now you see how it actually came up like this, but it didn't hurt the knuckle on my finger. It didn't hurt my hand. It just recoiled up in my hand. All right, let's go for the 300 grain jacketed soft point there at 1,200. Let's see how that acts. You notice the gun actually came up just darn near vertical. And of course, in my wrist, it pulled back down. But it didn't hurt. And that's what these Bisleys, once you figure out how to actually hold the gun, and the way we do it, in my right, of course I'm right-handed for most things there, and the way, if you want to stabilize it, to me, I was working with it, and since there's a gap here between my finger and the top of the frame there, or the bottom of the frame here, it didn't feel too stable. Well, you put that other hand there, you can put this first finger underneath the trigger guard, and it gives you real good stability. So you can see we have a very wide variation, but we have shot the gun on paper, and I think you'll be surprised just what the various loads will do. Friends, we're looking at the Bisley and 45 Colt here on our little Sure Sight rest, and we've had a number of folks that have asked where could they get one of these Sure Sight rests. Let me show you how it works. What you can see here, it has a little plate here that you put the butt of the gun on. Of course, you can use sandbags. We typically sometimes use sandbags, but this is really a good system. It is plastic coated, and notice it has a little V-shaped piece here that actually is flexible. It's on a hinged outfit there, and if you want to raise the muzzle, all you have to do is you can turn this little adjusting piece here, and you can raise it or you can lower it. It gives you very, very consistent accuracy on the target. In fact, I think it is darn near Certainly it's not a machine rest, but I tell you what, a good shooter can get awfully good results because this will help you sight your gun the best it can be done. This is a Sure Sight, and some folks in Pennsylvania sent us this little gizmo here several years ago, and I tell you what, we have used it, and you'll notice that the plastic coating is still real good all over it. We've used this thing for everything from rifles and shotguns to we use it just all the time. It has really held up so well, and I'll tell you, that's an awfully good statement. It's made right here in the United States, and let me get you that number. The Sure Sight adjustable rest. You can call them if you'd like to have one. They're $49.95. Area 717-277-0585. Again, area 717-277-0585. Because there are a lot of you out there that would really like to see what their guns would do, and this is, to me, is a lot easier than working with just sandbags. So we thought we'd pass that on to you.
Stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, here it is, the great Georgia Arms ammunition. Notice these ballistic tip nodular bullets in this Georgia Arms ammunition. You see, this is equivalent to a box of 20 for only $7.95. Now, friends, that is a terrific price for essentially custom-loaded ammunition. Of course, for the plain full metal jacket, it is much less expensive. Here's another tremendous bag of Georgia Arms ammunition, 7mm Remington Magnum, 20 rounds, only $17.95, loaded with these premium Nosler ballistic tips. I tell you, this is custom ammunition at a discount price. Tell you what, friends, the good people at Georgia Arms do understand what's going on in this country. They understand how important our gun rights are, and they're supporting us on this project. The good news is you can get absolutely superior ammunition at discount prices, whether you have a handgun or a rifle. If you want to take that big hunt, you can afford to practice with your rifle as well as use that same ammunition on the hunt because they are so reasonably priced. These are some of the nicest people we have ever met in this business, bar none, and they're down in beautiful Villa Rica, Georgia. So please, friends, if you would, you can get a free catalog with a free phone call. That's as good as the deal gets. A free catalog, free phone call, 1-800-624-6861. Again, Georgia Arms, 1-800-624-6861. And please tell them you saw it here on our shooting show.
Now, friends, we want to remind you that Georgia Arms does have loaded .45 DA or double action Colt cartridges. Certainly the cartridge we invented here on the program, or the concept we came up with, and we really appreciate their efforts on that. Also, they have our 41 Magnum Defense Special Load. In addition to 454 Casull ammunition, they have 260 Remington, just a whole bunch of stuff. 357 SIG, a whole tremendous line of the best ammunition money can buy at certainly the best prices we're aware of. Give them a call today, 1-800-624-6861. Get a free catalog, and please tell them you saw it here on our show.
Now, I'll tell you what, friends, of course, we worked exclusively with our 45 double action cartridge with our case here. But let me show you what the factory ammunition did out of our Bisley. Under 2 inches, 1.75 inches here for the Georgia Arms double action Colt, the Cowboy load. And I tell you what, that is the best shooting standard velocity Colt load that I've ever seen, that I'm aware of, because that at any time you can get the target type or lower velocity stuff with lead bullets under 2 inches, and it was well under 1.75 inches here with the Georgia Arms ammo. I think that's excellent. Now then, this is running along about 750 or so, 800 feet per second with our 7.5 inch barrel. Let me show you something else. You'll notice I didn't adjust the sights. My aiming point was right here. This is an 1.5 inch group with a 300 grain bullet, which is a slightly smaller group than this. Notice how it went to almost the same point of aim, which I found that interesting. For the 300 grain bullet moving along at a much much higher velocity, of course, loaded with 2400 powder. We had a 240 grain bullet that was running quite a bit faster even than the 300, and it went 1.7 inches here. My aiming point was here. It shot low, so that's one reason I like adjustable sights on guns, because you can, if you're trying to hit targets out there at 25 yards or so, you can adjust your point of aim. But it did extremely well. Here's another 1.5 inch group with the 300 grain bullets here. Just a remarkable shooting gun, and it just goes to show with a little load development what these single actions are capable of. Now, friends, some of you say, well, what's the big deal between the 44 and 45? Well, I tell you what, the 44 is on my right here, on your right, is not a 44, it's actually a 43, whereas the 45 is a true 45. And you can see, even held up here in my hands, you can see there's quite a bit of difference. The 45's here on the left, and you can see there's quite a bit. You can see that there's around 21 thousandths difference around the diameter there, and you can see that it is definitely a difference in the size of the bullet. And let me show you what this bullet right here at 1200 feet a second looks like this. And while we're looking at slight differences, on your left you have a 45 Colt case, and on the right you have the Georgia Arms DA Colt. I think you can see it there. And this is our invention here, is putting a slightly larger rim on the full-size Colt body, which gives you all the tremendous versatility of the 45 Colt cartridge, the full-length cartridge case, but it makes it so much nicer coming out of the sizing die. And yes, the RCBS die for the 7mm Remington Magnum is the shell holder number 4. I said die, I meant to say shell holder number 4 under RCBS. Works just fine on our DA Colt case, and the Dillon 45 Colt shell plate on their progressive loader works fine in 45 Colt. So this is really an important development for a lot of us. Of course, extraction's a lot better coming out of the rifles that it will go in. It won't work in all the Rossies, but it works fine in all the Winchesters and the Marlins lever guns that we've tried. So this is, we think, a very important development. Now, friends, some of you might say, well, why would I want a 45 Colt, even in the great Bisley revolver, as compared to a 44 Magnum? And truthfully, we haven't seen that much accuracy difference. I know that the Bisleys are performing awfully well with the big heavy bullets as compared to any of the 44 Magnums. One reason that we might like to try the 45 Colt, and you're going to really optimize your your potential on the cartridge, you're going to have to hand load. If you're not a hand loader, I would strongly suggest the 44 Magnum, because you can get all kinds of high-powered ammunition. I'll tell you what, friends, there's a reason that the pressure levels in the loading manuals do not go as high for the 45 Colt cartridge, even in the Rugers, because those folks have done all kinds of testing, and they're going to put published loads in there that are safe for us to use. And I'm not an adventurer when it comes to hand loading, unless a factory of some kind of powder or manufacturer, or bullet manufacturer, has tried it. I just see every reason in the world to keep my hands, my fingers, my eyes, and I'm not going to be an adventurer, because you can destroy a perfectly good piece of equipment. Anything can be destroyed, so you've got to use a little bit of common sense, and we have to believe what they write in the loading manuals. That's what they're for, is to be guides for safe loading. Now then, if you are a hand loader though, and you are somewhat enamored of the 45 Colt cartridge, and yes, there are some ground shaker loads out there for the 5-shot cylinders, but for the 6-shot guns that most of us are going to be seeing, and especially the Rugers, you have such a wide variety of potential that you can use. Here's a couple of our cowboy loads from Georgia Arms on our desk. You know, it still hits with pretty good authority there. But one of the real reasons that you can use a powerful gun anyway is it is portable. And I'll tell you what, with the 250 and 300 grain loads, to me, it's just roughly equivalent in power to some pretty good 44 Magnums, especially the 300 grain, maybe better than a 44 Magnum in the 300 because it's a bigger bullet. But if you're out in the woods, a backup gun to your rifle, let's suppose you're fishing, maybe a black bear decides, or some varmint like that decides that you look like lunch there, you can defend yourself. You know, we're hearing more and more of lion attacks. You know, the mountain lion has been a protected animal for so long, and believe me, one of these 300 grain, 250 grain bullets running out of one of these Bisleys would darn sure do a number on a lion, especially with the soft nose ammo. Let's see our water bottle here. We've got our 300 grain jacketed soft point. Let's see how it affects the water bottle here on the plank here. I'd say pretty dramatic. And let's try our 250 grain bullet on this bottle over here. So needless to say, we have a fantastic variety. And what we don't have in our 44 Magnum, we don't have loaded down ammunition, certainly not to the point of cowboy ammo that is readily available. So this is just something we thought we would show you. The Bisley, we're going to be running some tests with it. And it's just a remarkable gun. Once we figured out how to hold it and keep that knuckle away from that trigger guard, these are such nice guns. Now, one thing we haven't done yet, we haven't replaced our cylinder pin yet, but Belt Mountain has sent us one. And if we're going to do a lot of heavy shooting with the super hot loads, that's the first thing we'll change, is that cylinder pin to keep it from coming out. But these are such nice guns as they come from the factory, and as we saw earlier, it has displayed superior accuracy. Now, friends, I want to remind you, yes, we do have shooting show Kimbers, these great 1911s, the best that anybody's ever made from a production line. Start at $6.99. You can get them with rosewood grips like you see here for an extra $30. We can get them in stainless. We have the compact and the full-size model, which is shown here. If you're a dealer, we can wholesale you Kimber guns, the entire line, including the polymer frame gun. Just give us a call here at the program for one of these great Kimbers. If you'd like to order it through us, we can ship it to your dealer. We can order the standard model if you want to spend a little bit less money, or if you'd like one of our shooting show guns, which all come with a signed target by me, a group shot at 25 yards. You can call us here at the program or write to us. The Shooting Show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Dubberly, Louisiana. The zip code is 71024. If you'd like to call us, our phone number is 318-377-5189.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. Now, friends, here it is. This is the great 1919 Browning converted to semi-automatic from the good people at NWI. This is your chance to own a real piece of history. They're very collectible. They're also a lot of fun to own and shoot, and very reasonably priced, certainly for what you get. The 1919 Browning is from NWI. That phone number, area 503-429-5001. They also have the ammunition special still going on. 30-06 ammunition, only 18 cents a round, surplus in the belt. So give them a call today, NWI, for the great 1919 Browning conversion. Also remember, they have the A6 conversion with the shoulder stock and the bipod. But these are tremendous pieces of history, also great shooters. So give them a call today, the 1919 Browning from NWI, area 503-429-5001.
Now, friends, we want to remind you that Tim also has a few of the 50 Browning versions of the great Browning machine gun that have been converted to semi-automatic. Has a very few. Now, he has a greater number of the 1919 A4s and A6s. The A6 has the shoulder stock. None of us knows how long these guns are going to be available. If you want a great piece of American history, if you'd like maybe the ultimate fun gun, well, please give Tim a call out there, area 503-429-5001, and tell him you saw it here on our show.
Well, it's nice to be here. It's nice to be on the program. I'm tied up and can't be here at the regular shooting. So I urge all of you to do something with the Shootin' Show and try to help it, because it's perilously close to being financially strapped and unable to get off the ground.
Now, we were recently over at the Old West Mercantile in Bossier City, Louisiana, and really have some neat stuff that we'd like to follow up on today. I think you'll enjoy seeing.
We're looking at this gentleman is holding a 50 caliber reproduction of the flintlock, and let's take a closer look. You'll notice how these things work. We haven't really done much with flintlocks on our program, and we'll probably need to do more. What happens is you'll see the piece of flint literally held there by the clamp on the hammer. And what happens is when that flint fires forward like that, just like that, it hits the, is that called the frizzen? Frizzen right there. And it drops sparks down below it, and of course you have a touch hole going into the barrel, and it fires. And friends, this was actually the longest this ignition system was used longer than any other ignition system in firearms history. So they did work, didn't they, Junior?
Yeah, well, yeah. They used them for several hundred years.
Now, Junior, this is important. You know, these flintlocks and all, of course, were dependable. But what happened when it would rain? What would you do then?
Well, if it was raining, what you would do is after you, before you filled your flash pan up, you would take a small amount of beeswax and roll it in your fingers to make a little coil. And you would actually put it around the flash pan to make a seal. And when you put your powder, your priming powder in there, and you close your frizzen, it would basically pretty well seal it off.
So that would actually you could use the gun if you had to, even in rainy weather, with that procedure.
Or, for another thing, they had what was called a cow's knee, and they would actually take the leather off the knee of a cow, which was curved, It would actually fit it around the complete lock system. And when they got ready to use it, they would pull it off and go and fire.
Well, sir, I know a lot of us are going to be interested in hearing that. It's certainly something I didn't know. Friends, what are we looking at here, sir?
Well, it's basically a musketoon or a blunderbuss, early 1800 period weapon. It fired 1/16 ball.
Now, let's just show the size of that muzzle. My gosh.
Or a dozen 50 caliber round balls at a time.
A dozen 50 caliber round balls. Have you ever shot it?
Yes.
Is recoil somewhat stiff?
Yes.
How much powder do you put in there in one load?
About 300 grains.
300. Well, friends, he just needs to have a can of powder, you know, to load each time, just darn near. But, well, it sure is a nice looking a replica, I suppose, of a gun that used to be a fowling piece, or...
No, they were used more for defense or some hunting. Hunt something very big. Primarily they're used as a military weapon. They were used on board a ship carried as a defensive. It's basically just a big shotgun.
Well, we appreciate you showing it to us. Thank you.
Over in Africa.
Well, it's called a blunderbuss, or okay.
Mostly what these were used for was they mounted them on forts and stuff. It's kind of an anti-artillery weapon.
Also guns on the top on board ship.
Yeah, and on ships, because if you're just shooting a round ball, the bigger the ball is, the farther it'll carry.
Sure.
So,
this is a giant. Notice we have a mounting piece there that they used to mount these guns. My goodness, what caliber is it?
it's 1-inch bore.
1 inch bore. Friends, realize that this man is about 6'1" or 2", and this thing comes up. In fact, just under his chin. So these were really large guns.
That's a big gun.
I tell you what, it makes some big old flint.
Yeah. Of course, that pan there holds about as much powder as a Derringer does in the main charge. But
And who made that?
a fellow by the name of Taylor Anderson over in Granbury, Texas.
Granbury, Texas. Taylor also made the blunderbuss here that we were looking at a moment ago. So he does a heck of a fine job. My friends, Junior here, or better known as Butch Casey, has been nice enough to come outside. He's going to show us the loading procedure on this flintlock. Now, obviously, we're not going to be shooting a real bullet because, one, we're downtown Bossier City, Louisiana. But we want to show you just how this goes about. Now, friends, this is how our the folks from the past have to do. They had to do it like this all the time. This is all they had. So, sir, go ahead when ready there, sir.
Okay. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have an accurate amount of powder. You always use a measure. You never pour from the powder horn into the barrel like they show in some of the movies, because that can, if you get too much powder, that can damage your weapon.
And plus, if there were any sparks down there, it could kind of ruin your day, couldn't it?
Right, it would go back up and blow up in your hand. A pound of black powder is equal to 4 sticks of dynamite, and I've got 2 sticks of dynamite right here.
My goodness.
Pour it, make sure it's in there. Then you would take your round ball and you would put a piece of patch material over it.
And what kind of patching material?
I use pillow ticking, the same thing that they use to make pillows out of. What you do is you put your patch material on there, and you put your round ball on it, and you use a starter to push it down flush. Once it's flush, you'd have excess patch material, and you would use your patch knife to trim off the excess. Once you've trimmed off the excess, you'd use what's called a long starter to push it down, because the tightest part of the bore is going to be the first 6 inches. Once you've done that, you pull your ramrod. You always want to keep the muzzle as far away from your face as possible. The least amount over the powder, the less damage it would be to you if you had a malfunction and the gun did go off.
Well, that's a good point. That ramrod, in fact, you need to be careful with that too, because boy, that would be a spear if it went off in a gun, wouldn't it?
Right. It could either go out and hurt someone, or it could shatter right there in front of you and throw sparks or throw splinters back at you.
Now, are you using the same kind of powder in the flash pan there?
No, I'm using what's called 3F powder here, which is a fine powder. But for priming, you use 4F, which is a real fine powder. You don't use 4F in the barrel because it builds up too much pressure and can damage it. But basically what I'm doing, I'm using a pan charger. As you can see, I put a small amount of powder in the pan. You don't want to cover up the flash hole because that works like a fuse and delays it.
So, well, now I didn't know that. So you don't cover up the flash
You
hole.
don't cover up the flash hole. What you depend on is the flash that goes in all directions to go through this touch hole and set off the main charge. Once you got your pan charged, you pull the frizzen back. Once you fired, you go through the same procedure all over again.
Now, Butch, how long or how many shots a minute, or how long does it take, say, between shots on one of these flintlocks?
You can fire them just as fast as you can load them.
Oh.
Now, after a period of time, after 10 or so shots, it's going to start getting real dirty, and it's going to be harder to load. If you don't have time to stop and clean your gun, clean the barrel out, you just have difficulty in loading. You know, in the old days when they were in a fight, they didn't have time to. What they would do in some cases is omit the patch material and just drop the round ball. When it started getting hard to load, just drop the round ball. You'd lose some accuracy, you'd lose some velocity, but if you're close in fighting, it's not going to be that important.
Friends, we hope that you're enjoying our program today. It was a strain getting it here, but that's all right. We were on one more time. Remember, if you like one of the great Kimber guns, you can get them through our program here, whether it's a shooting show gun or another one of the Kimber variations. They are tremendous production guns, the best there are, in fact. So you can write us here at the program or call us. Also want to remind you that our good friend Bill Lewis is selling vinyl siding and vinyl windows. And if you're within 100 miles of Atlanta, Georgia, please give him a call. You can turn your a home into an absolute showplace with these great accessories, and you can give them a call down there. Their number is Vinyltech, area 770-529-2829. Again, area 770-529-2829. We appreciate all the help that Bill has been to our program. Also, friends, honestly, if you can help us, we live in strange times, literally. We have folks that are trying through the United Nations, like the cover of this New American here, and in our own government, who are trying to disarm us. One way you can fight is to send whatever you can to the shooting show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Duberly, Louisiana. That zip code is 71024. Please, friends, if you can, help us. We'll recognize our support group, our good friend Dennis Crocker, firearms trainer in South Carolina. Dennis's number is area 864-587-8722. Our friends Dennis and Jeannie Ritchie with Custom Leather Work in Saddlery. They're in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Their number is area 504-667-9225. The folks at Camouflage Technologies that paint gun stocks, they're at area 909-674-6488. Our friends at Clark Custom Guns in Princeton, Louisiana, they're certainly a great help to us. Their number is area 318-949-9884. Flying Horse Galleries. They have great artwork on the web. You can find them at www.flyinghorse.net. Also, our friend Bruce Warren with BC Armory in East Leroy, Michigan. His number is area 616-729-5508. Friends, we are very, very short on time. Please remember our gospel show on Sunday morning on Telstar 4 Channel 23 from 10 to 10:30 Eastern Time, and also our radio show on the American Freedom Network on SpaceNet 4 Channel 19, 5.82 audio from noon until 2 o'clock on Sunday. Please, friends, help us if you can. We don't want to lose our voice on television. For us, that's you and us, the American gun owner. For now, we are still free Americans. If we don't reach more people, we won't have to worry about having guns at all. We'll see you on the next program.